Welcome to the Empowering Choices podcast. My name is Joshua, and today Erik and Lucas, who are licensed professional counselors, will be talking about focusing on your relationship with your spouse or partner.
So Erik, today we decided that we were going to talk about adult time.
Really? That's what you're leading with?
Yep, that's my intro.
Yeah, no, that's not at all what
you
we
explicitly were like, no, that is not the title of this episode.
That is not the title, and you just let out with that as the title.
No, that was not the title. Those were just the first words that I said in the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're opposed to that title.
Well, it doesn't encompass everything that we're really trying to talk about.
Well, yeah, but nothing is going to. You can't put an entire dictionary into a title.
Well, but...
You got to make compromises somewhere.
Not here.
Erik doesn't make compromises. Yes.
No, I compromise, but I also hold ground. And what we're trying to talk about is how do you have a good flow of time, communication, and interactions between you and your significant other?
Sure. Well, I mean, let's just call out the elephant in the room. I think the phrase that I was coming up with originally, adult time, implies sex.
Exactly.
Right?
Which is why I'm like, yeah, we're not going to use that as the title because that's one slice of an entire pie. And if you don't have that entire pie going, that one slice isn't going to help you very much.
I got lost on the pie metaphor there.
Uh-huh.
All right, hang
I know.
on.
I kind of figured.
Well, I mean, and I think it's good to call out that part of the discussion.
Well, I was going to, believe me.
Well, there you go. You're welcome.
No.
You're welcome.
I don't think so.
But, yeah, so sex is a part of this discussion, but you're saying there's more pie to the discussion.
Yeah. How do you spend time with each other as parents?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've had this discussion with couples before.
Right.
And it's like, okay, because either they mention it or I'll mention something about like time with your spouse, and I'll clarify, are we talking about sex or not? Or are we talking about sex and, right? And our discussion here is the and part of the equation. Thank you, Andy. Yeah. So there we go. You're welcome. Just encompass the entire topic real nice and briefly right up front. Didn't bury the lead at all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's just not buying it.
Yeah, not a bit. Okay, so you've got 1 to 12 kids.
Good gravy. I hope you don't have 12. If you do, please leave us a comment below and let us know how time with your partner or spouse is going.
I believe Matthew Stafford has 7.
I don't even know who that is.
Yeah, he's the quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams.
Nope.
Yeah.
Way outside my...
And maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's 5, but
sure.
The thing is, however many kids you have, I just went 1 to 12 because that is going to grab most people.
Parents anyway, yeah.
Yeah. And so in today's, different types of families, you can have close to that 12 at different times.
Right. The Brady Bunch version of how many kids you have. Mm-hmm.
How do you spend time with each other?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And there's a variety of different answers to that. But the thing is, the main tool you have to use is intentionality.
I think that's a key function for so very many things.
I totally agree.
I had a pediatrician who I heard as his recommendation. And again, like with so many those weren't the right syllables. With so very many of these topics, we're trying to talk about tools and ideas so that you can brainstorm and not necessarily like do the thing the people on the podcast says. Because how many times have you had clients come back and be like, I did or didn't do what you told me to. And it's like, no, I didn't tell you to. I suggested an idea for you to think about.
They're springboards.
But I heard a pediatrician give the suggestion of, for the amount of kids that you have, so per kid, as a couple, you should take 1 weekend a away as a couple.
And that's it.
I don't think that his idea there was that's it. But as far as like leaving the house, leaving the kids behind, exiting the city, going and getting like a hotel somewhere else as like maybe a big thing. So and I thought it was an interesting rubric.
Well, here's my qualm. Americans always have to have some systematic way of doing everything.
Okay. You're opposed to a systematic way of doing this?
When it becomes the standard, because then you're going to look to the system, and the standard equals this is how we get what we want. And every family's going to be different. Every situation's going to be different. You're going to have kids that are different. You're going to have different things that are different. You and your spouse are different. Maybe one weekend a year, because you have one kid, works for some, but not for others. Maybe by the time they get to that one weekend, they have so pulled out all of their hair that they can't even find the place that they want to go spend the weekend with, and then end up fighting the whole time they're there, or sleeping the whole time they're there.
Yeah, sure, right.
You know, so
when your vacation is a giant nap, right?
And so and that's what I mean is I have parents who will say, look, I have 3 toddlers. We don't have any time together. How are we supposed to have time? My first next question is, when do they go to bed?
Yep. Okay, sure. This is a good tool for the toolbox.
Exactly.
I would argue that the weekend vacation is a different tool. This is a daily tool.
Okay, now let's put them in the tools that might be in the toolbox. Do you use an Allen wrench very often? It depends.
Sometimes more often than the other tools in my toolbox.
More, but like a socket, you don't use every socket all the time. You use different sockets. So the weekend getaway is a socket.
It's a rare.
It's a rare thing.
It's so 17/16 socket.
You've got to have the other pieces in there. And so I'll say, what time do your kids go to bed? And they're like, well, they go to bed between like 6 and 10.
Right.
6 and 10.
You don't do that.
Okay. How about a more? Because how old are they? Well, they're 4, 5, and 7. Okay. Well, why so late? And do you know that the research actually shows kids in grade school need 8 to 12 hours of sleep, depending on the child, and closer to the 10 to 12.
Right. Yeah, it's a pretty big number.
Can we pull the bedtime back down? Because even if your kids don't need that much sleep, you need time with your partner.
Right. Well, and there's
or by yourself.
So like the thing that you're saying is like take control of the schedule so that it gives you time. From kind of like the kid perspective, the consistency is good too.
Yes.
Because you said in the initial example, it was just like, oh, man, like whenever.
And
I don't think that's probably good for kids. It's not super germane to our particular topic, but picking a consistent time is, I think, good for everybody.
Well, kids are emotionally based thinkers. They're going to take as much as they can get all the time.
No joke.
and that's a part of their thinking, but they don't know that as much as they can get all the time is not good for them or you.
Right. Well, moderation and everything, right? Including moderation.
Well, you have to have the understanding of why. Well, if they get everything they need from you all the time, you're drained.
Sure.
So you don't have things to give back to them. Whether you're an extrovert or an introvert, you have to know the secrets to what helps you be able to replenish your batteries. Because if you don't replenish yourself, you can't be there for them. You just added to the chaos. I have a client who was telling me that with the 2 girls that she has, it was really kind of getting to her one evening, and the kids were doing fine. They were at the table waiting and wanting to play a game. Mommy was not doing fine and needed to step away. And eventually said, that's it, I'm going to take a bath. And in the bath, she started off with all of her emotions, and she ended up coming up with the idea they needed to be able to play this game because there were some missing pieces in the box.
Oh, there was a problem to be solved.
There was a problem to be solved. And when I asked, we'll call her Sally, when I asked Sally what helped, she didn't ever land on taking a bath and having time to myself. And when I pointed that out, she went, oh my gosh, that is what helped.
Oh, you observed her story and you said, what helped? And you're like, I think it was the bath and the time away. But it didn't connect with her. It
didn't connect with her at that time. But we have to have those times where there are things like baths or showers or books or hobbies or interests or walks or these types of things that help to replenish us. Now, we started this podcast talking about the 2 of you together. you need time like that together as well.
Right. I think there's two things there.
There's definitely two things there.
I was musing in my head for a possible alternate title, and like recharging the adults sounds pretty good.
That's actually a really good title.
And then it's like part 1, time with your partner, and then it's like part 2, time with yourself. Insert all the sex jokes that you want in both of those subtitles.
Wow, you had to go there.
I did.
You just had to go there. Yeah.
Half of our audience did anyway. I mean, I was just keeping up with the rest of them.
Yeah, I don't think so. But anyhow,
in the comments below, please tell me who's right.
Yeah, right. So the thing is, if you put the bedtime to where, say it's between 7 and 8 o'clock for the 3 kids that I just gave the example, the 4, the 5, and the 7-year-old.
And I think that's statistically kind of where you want to be, around 8.
Well, we're not talking about, a statistic, because now we're getting back into being an American.
Well, it's both of those things. So like for me, if I have a ballpark idea, that's helpful. And then I need to adjust that based on what works for me.
And that's the part that a lot of us get stuck away from.
The adjusting?
The adjusting.
Yeah.
And so that's the part that you have to have in there. That's why I don't like to use certain standards, because people just adhere to the standard and they don't have the part that they can be flexible with those standards as to the needs of the moment, the home, the house, the holiday, whatever it is. And so let's say bedtime was now 8 o'clock now, and let's say that the adults go to bed at 11 o'clock. You now have 3 hours that you can talk with your spouse, play a game with your spouse. You can do something either individually or with your spouse. You have time now that can be molded and folded to where you can begin to recharge and release your stress from the day and recharge yourself before you go to bed.
So get out of the house, away from the kids sometimes.
Put
the kids to bed at a consistent time, because it's good for them and good for you, and gives you time and gives them sleep. Yeah, for sure.
Do you know what a lot of moms who have newborn babies do when the baby naps?
Well, I'm going to go to the generality that you don't like, which is the you nap when the baby naps. I've heard that one before.
Well, and it's not that it's a standard. It's just an actuality of a lot of moms have been like, okay, now I can rest too. And so whatever that looks like in there, because there are going to be some moms that went, oh my gosh, that's when I went and did everything that needed to be done. The point is you have a moment break there that's placed into the natural way that the baby is being taken care of. And then that gives you an opportunity. You're not going to go grocery shopping and leave the baby there by itself. But you might go into a different room and clean, or you might go into a different room and read a book, or you might go into a different room and sleep.
Right.
Or you might sleep in the same room. It gives you that moment to be able to also recharge yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I think the fundamental thing that this topic requires is you need to figure out a way to separate yourself from your children. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah.
And you still need, and we're talking about the balance of how do you still have things in life that you enjoy and that help you?
Right.
And how do you insert them into your schedule around how you're taking care of your kids? If your kids have everything, you're going to burn out. You're gonna be more irritable. You're going to have more emotional explosions. You're going to withdraw more. There's a lot of parents who will just sit on their phones or their tablets or their computers or in front of the TV because they're so drained.
And it feels like a halfway point of, I'm still here with my kids and I'm available if they need me, but I can't do anything else. So I'm just going to sit here and look at this screen. And it's neither thing. It's not engaging with your children. And I would argue that it's probably not a good intentional recharge time for you. It's this halfway mush mess.
Right.
That's not doing anybody any good.
It's where we get a lot of parents that will say, my kids will just sit there and go, mommy, 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 daddy, 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 daddy. And I'm like, well, how do you handle that? Right. Well, I'm trying to just do whatever I'm doing on my phone and I answer some things, but they won't stop.
Right.
And generally that means that they're looking for your attention.
I think so. That would be a reasonable conclusion.
And they're going to get it.
Yeah, because otherwise they're going to go tip over the glass vase in the corner.
Or that may happen in the tantrum.
Sure. Yeah. Yes.
Or there's no glass vase tipped over, but they're still going to have a tantrum.
Sure.
Or they're going to pick at their brother or their sister. Or so the chaos is going to continue to grow. Let's say you come home from work at 5 and, you create a schedule. So between 5 and 6 is dinner preparation and dinner. After, dinner, so from 6 to 6:30 or 6 to 7, you're spending time intentionally with your kids, either one or as a group. If there's, 2 of you there, then however you break that up. There are some parents that I've had that think everything should be done together, where I really believe in family time. I also really believe in a balance of individual time with each kid and with each parent.
Well, that's the thing that we were talking about. If we're going to talk about recharging the adults together and then the adults individually by themselves.
Well, exactly. But spending that individual time with each of your kids as well.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, that's kind of like a separate umbrella,
what I mean.
For sure.
Yeah, exactly.
All of those things.
So you have to kind of look at those things because if everybody's in the room and you're just there, that doesn't mean that you're actually, feeding the needs of the children, which means bedtime's going to be a lot harder.
So, yeah. So in the scenario you're talking about, if you have a point in time, and I'll use my family as an example, in an ideal scenario, I think that it would be good for our schedule is if after dinner I hang out with the kids and my wife goes and does something else, which is usually like cleaning up the house or something.
Right.
Yeah. And so that's kind of like a way to do the thing that you were suggesting, but it's intentional too. Yeah.
When we had more kids in our house, I would do different types of individual with each of them. And one young man, he had an Xbox in his room, and it was really hard to be able to find, what he really liked to engage in, because he hadn't had a lot of experience with that. And so one day I just was in his room and I just said, "Hey, what about the Xbox? Do you play that much?" And he's like, "Well, I got it for Christmas." And
that doesn't answer
not
my question.
really.
And not really. Okay.
And so I'm looking through his games and I noticed that he has football.
Okay.
And I'm like, "What about this one? Have you played this one?" and he goes, "No, I don't play that. Let's play." And so I'm kind of pushing and prodding a little bit. "Hey, let's play. Let's try this. Let's do this." What I found that worked really well with him is that they were in their rooms from 8 to 9, and there was lights out at 9 o'clock. And so I would go to his room every evening from 8 to 9, and we would play football.
On the Xbox.
On the Xbox. Now, in the first 3 months, it was some real work to do everything I possibly could to run the wrong way, miss the ball, fumble the ball, miss the tackle, anything that would help keep him in the game while he's building his hand-eye coordination for this game. And so that's my challenge at that time. Once he got that down, now the game was fun. Now he's giving me a run for my money, and other kids are like coming to the room going, "We want to watch." But it started off with individual time with him, and other people then would come in as a secondary place at different times. With another boy, he loved auto mechanics, and so he wanted me to go to the garage with him, and he wanted to have, what we've seen in some of the 80s sitcoms and movies where, dad's there working on the car or kid's there working on the car and the other person hands them the tools. Yeah, I know nothing about auto mechanics or tools at that time. And so he would be under the car and he would say, "I need this." And he would put out his hand and I would put a screwdriver in it.
Right. No matter what he asked for.
Well, no matter what he asked for. And then he would take it under there and he'd look at it and he goes, "No, I said this." And so I'd give him another screwdriver. And he rolls out one time and he goes, "You don't have a clue what these tools are, do you?" And I'm like, "I told you in the beginning. I know nothing about
keep
this.
That a secret."
But I am more I'm more than willing to come out and talk with you. And so what he would do is he would line up all the tools
that he presumed he would need.
In the order he would need them. And then he would just call out the number.
The number. I need the third one.
And I could do that part, And so those were some different ways that I took individual time with different kids, that we've had. At times, like with my son right now, we'll play a game together. And then we'll finish that game, and sometimes one of us will say, okay, now I'm going to do something with your dad, or I'm going to do something with your mom, and so then it becomes something that we're doing together, and so it's not always about everyone.
Sure.
And my kids have always understood that, which, also leads down to, okay, you have this weekend that the doctor suggested that you're going to have in there. But what if you had something like date night that was happening either weekly or monthly? And so that allows you to be able to step away together and go and do something that you want to do, that you agree on with each other to go and do.
So let me come back to a thought that I was having about, you were talking about having intentional time with the kids. And the thought that I was having is, in order to have intentional time away from the kids, it requires intentional time with the kids.
Yes.
You have to be intentionally like over here so that you can be intentionally over here.
Yes.
Because there's that mushy middle where neither good thing is happening, and you have to intentionally fill one up so that you can have the opportunity to have the time away, because otherwise they're going to be mommy, mommy, mommy.
Exactly.
Or a temper tantrum or whatever variation of fits the scenario.
I don't fault them for being mommy, 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 mommy. They're emotional brain thinkers. They're kids, and it's a part of being parented that you learn the control, the restraints, the logical parts. You learn how the world is supposed to work. So they're going to be in their raw form, and we're supposed to be, no,
sure.
It doesn't work like that.
That's molding
That's
small
the
humans.
molding type of behavior. My son will actually remind me, because we do date night once a month, and he'll remind me, oh, hey, it's the first whatever of the month. Your mom are going to be going out to date night tonight.
Sure, right? And he's probably thinking, and I'm staying home alone.
I don't know that he's thinking that. He's just like, because he has Asperger's, here's your reminder. This is what's happening today.
This is the way the world works, and I am reminding you that it must happen.
Exactly. So if I were to not go out, if we didn't go out, he'd be like, what happened? Why are you here?
This is not the way things are supposed to be.
This is not the way of the world.
Sure, right?
And so how you mold that in, because, if you have that 4, that 5, and that 7-year-old, date night, if you don't have someone to come in and be able to watch the kids and babysit the kids, because the laws of, the states are, very different on how old a kid can be left by themselves.
And yeah.
So you got to know that.
You got to be responsible. Leaving the 7-year-old alone in charge of the 4-year-old may not be your best idea.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any state that allows that. But that may mean that if you don't have that part, you might have to get creative as to what date night looks like at the house. And in order to do that, the kids kind of need to be asleep, in bed, in their rooms.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
So you have to intentionally plan that out as to how that works.
You don't just put the cat in charge?
Well, you can, but they have it generally, they kind of just go with the herd if they like it and then do what they want anyhow. If you have a more of a herding dog, it might work a little better. They can just herd them back in their rooms. But
don't leave the cat in charge. Don't call CPS on me, please. Right. I don't even own a cat.
Oh, he does. Or he will.
Yeah, you're going to deliver a leopard to my front door or something in an Amazon box.
No, that's coming to my front door. You get the potbelly pig.
You said it was going to be a cat. That changed drastically.
Well, I'll get you a cat too. There's plenty in the neighborhood. I can just open a window and pop one in. You'll be good. Or something of that nature.
I don't have a response for that.
I know. Not a big cat fan.
No, you were talking about a potbelly pig.
Well, we
started with cat and then it became a pig.
Yeah, I can get you one.
My goodness. No date night with the potbelly pig.
Well, and, just to kind of come back, to where we're going on this is time with each other is going to have to be something you intentionally put in there.
Yep.
And it's something that you can't just assume is just going to happen, because it's not. You have kids, they're going to see, oh, look, this could be a good time to get attention.
I don't think any of the things that we talk about just happen magically on their own.
No,
Yeah.
Generally not.
So the things that so that's kind of the summary of the whole thing. And then some of the nuggets that we've talked about is, in order to have time away from your kids, you have to spend time with your kids so that they let you, it's not quite the right words, but it's close. And then variations on spending time away from your kids, like establish a bedtime. That's like a daily version of that. And then maybe something like date night. And maybe that's weekly or monthly or in that scale of things.
My parents had, this is individual playtime.
Oh, sure. Well, and variations on these are with an adult by themselves and then with your partner together. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Or just helping us to understand that sometimes we just need to play alone and learn how to do that.
Sure. Yep.
They may not have been spending any time together. They may have just been doing the exact same things that they were going to be doing if we were out there, but they wanted us to learn, hey, it's okay to be alone and learn how to entertain yourselves.
Well, I mean, in one place you were talking about this for an infant, but it applies to, in various ways, to children of all ages. Of if the infant's napping or you have nap time for your 5-year-old, right? And they're in their room napping for a certain portion of the time, that's time away for them, or could be. And then I've heard suggestions even for kids, up through teenagers, of kind of like what you were talking about you need to spend some time alone.
Yeah.
Right. And so in my house, we call that quiet time, right? I have a kid who doesn't nap anymore, but it's like when the little one goes down for a nap, big one goes for quiet time in her room, both to have, because it's mom who's usually home alone with them, to give her some time away and have the big one have some time by herself.
Yep.
Right. So just
learning that, how to be able to do that and what to do at those times.
And then up to time away, including getaways out of the house, renting a hotel, going farther away from your kids. But all of those variations, from daily stuff to weekly stuff to monthly stuff to, something you might do once a year.
Oh yeah. There are going to be times, and that's a part of it, is with you and your partner, you need that time to be able to have the communication so that you can be able to share, how am I doing today? Because if you're not doing well, you may need to be away from the house, to be away from the kids, or at the house doing a project that really helps you be able to recharge, but you need the kids to be away from you. And here's how, your teamwork works, to where one of you is with the kids and then the other one is, able to be alone. And, and I've done this in a variety of different versions. At times I would be outside with the kids. And so I have one eye on playing and being engaged with the kids and the other eye on the back door. Because who needs to go to the bathroom for the 12th time in a row, which is I just need to get inside because I want to talk to mom. And so you're like, wait, stop. What are you doing?
Sure.
I need to go to the bathroom. You just went.
Right.
What, what's going on?
You don't need to use a bathroom. There's a perfectly good tree out here.
Okay, well, there is that at times. However, there are other ways to be able to address that. And so
we're giving you tools. That's one of them.
Yes. Well, a part of Lucas's tools are plant trees that can be watered by your children. Now, in other ways, you're looking for, okay, no, come back out here. We'll all go in at this time. We'll all come out at this time.
20 minutes from now. And
that could be that. The idea is, because I can hear some people going, well, what if they really have to go and then they have an accident? By spending time with them, you get to know them.
Sure.
You get to know their body language. You get to know if they're really, really doing the pee-pee dance.
Because you were saying that in this scenario, you're they want to go check in on mom, which is,
They may not have been the most enthused about the plan, which is everybody outside giving mom a break.
Right. That was the plan.
That was the plan, or vice versa. I would walk in the front door and I would just get bombarded right from the front door. And my wife would be like, okay, you go over here, you go over there, you come over here.
Right. Give Dad 15 minutes.
Well, we're not going to bombard Dad when he walks in the door.
Right.
Give him a minute. He lives here.
You'll see him soon, I promise.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Sounds like my house.
Right, because there's certain
I don't even get out of the
routines.
car.
And they're coming
And they're
out.
in the garage.
Yeah. And so, and that's a communication between, teamwork between you and your significant other, between you and your spouse. How do we want this to look? What helps? If it's a particularly bad day at work, it's not going to be a particularly necessary good thing for kids to come and just tackle us with their love. It can have the opposite type of a reaction. And so that communication during the day can help the other person know how to be able to support us, or vice versa, in those types of situations.
Absolutely.
If my wife has a migraine, I am corralling whoever I have at that time, and they're just coming with me.
Right. You're going over here.
Right. And that may be, hey, we're going into the office. We're just all going to be in the office. We'll do things. You'll do things. I'll do things. And it's to give my wife that time that she needs to be able to take care of having a migraine.
Right. So what we want to remind you to do is love your children more by spending time away from them.
And with each other. with each other as well.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for joining us for this episode of the Empowering Choices Parenting Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, definitely make sure on whatever platform you're watching to give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, and let us know that you're listening and any questions that you may have. And then definitely check out our website at empoweringchoices.community. We have a lot of resources there, including a parenting manual and additional courses that cover some of the content we've talked about today and so much more. We'll see you on the next episode.